Hey!
It's you! I hope to be you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Manifest Actual Play. With me again are Dan Barron, Seth Lilly, Addie Gia, and we are going to continue the campaign with these three drifters as they get more and more embroiled into the criminal underworld of the garden. The thing they want to get away from.
Yeah, this is fine.
Okay.
But
Right.
before I jump into any recaps or anything, Addie, do we have any announcements?
Yes, so we've released some of our a sneak peek of some of our art. One of our artists, Crystal Sully, has been doing some awesome sketches for us, and you can find her at Crystal Sully on Twitter and check out some of Manifest's most interesting creatures. So sneak peek for the book.
Yeah, there's update on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
That has a little collage of some of the beasties, and if you follow Crystal on Twitter, there's a chance you might see some more of them as she keeps turning them out for us.
Also, just good art in general. Yeah.
Yeah, they're super cool. Yeah, anything else?
The Facebook pages for this show and for GM Styles are going up this week. So if you are on Facebook and you want to like us, that would be cool, but they're not up yet. So do it later. And
nice.
And
keep an eye on Manifests.
Yeah, they will be linked.
We'll share it there.
Yeah. But yeah, there were more than a few requests for those Facebook pages and just a community page in general for Waypoint Live. So we're working on it for you, and we're gonna get it done. We're coming up on the final few days. It's like a week and a half. So the final few week and a half to pledge for the Manifest the RPG book on not Kickstarter, the other one, BackerKit. So if you haven't yet backed us or reserved your copy, you can go to manifesttherepg.backerkit.com and you can buy your book or your dice or your
pre-orders are up.
They're or pins. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
That we have. We've got like the Waypoint flag, and then we've also got the Manifest logo available, which are really sweet. I'm really excited for them. But we've got a week and a half left. They will close on Friday for orders. So we're going to remind you 2 more times next week, and then on GM Styles.
And probably in social media. Do it another one.
You're going to get a lot of reminders, but do it
now. Sweet. Okay, so let's do a little bit of a recap of what's happened thus far. Kinsey, Pax, and Roland are basically stuck as members of the Dead Man's Gang, a murderous gang that they want no part in, and are being given various tasks while the Dead Man's Gang seems to be organizing to ambush a Alana Stead militia convoy that is coming to pick up one of their hostages, Marshal Leonard Yen. Marshal Yen, before he was captured by the Dead Man's Gang, entrusted Pax and Roland with some secret, super high-tech lockbox that they hid in a cave and buried before the Dead Man's Gang caught up with them. So far, the two of them are the only people who know where this lockbox are, to their knowledge at least. And also to their knowledge, the only people who know that they know are Pax, Roland, and Marshal Yen. Otherwise, they've been sent they were sent with Miguel Reyes of the Dead Man's Gang to acquire firepower for this ambush that the Dead Man's Gang is trying to arrange. And things went a little sideways. The Pax informed a marshal by the name of Donna Kane that where Miguel was. So as the four of them got off of a riverboat in the town of Wilburton, the marshal made a move and attempted to arrest Miguel. Miguel opened fire. He has a very big gun and killed a few innocent people, maybe. Definitely maimed a bunch. And just barely escaped without killing Donna Kane. But Miguel was heavily wounded, and Roland
tragically died from his wounds.
Roland took that opportunity in the back of Cho Saxton's truck. He used that opportunity and the trust that he had gained in Miguel, or with Miguel,
from Miguel,
to murder Miguel. He gave him a tonic that was a poison, and then finished him off with a stitching needle. just kind of stuck it right in there. Yeah, kind of choked him to death, sort of, with a needle. And Miguel died, and Roland was able to play it off as him succumbing to his injuries. They dispensed with Miguel's body, sort of burying him in a wooded area nearby, and then Cho shared some knowledge that she had gained from a companion of Salvador Alston, the man who was supposed to be brokering this weapons deal, who was murdered on said riverboat. Seems like the Dead Man's Gang's weapons supplier is on the outs with the family of the Alanastead territory, the Gati family. They murdered Salvador and took the weapons that Rufus Nash, the leader of the Dead Man's Gang, wants. Cho has it on good authority that the weapons are being held in Lily Ridge, a town just north of, just about a day's drive north of Wilburton, if you don't make many stops. And so they joined Cho on her way up north to Lily Ridge, where she said she wants to get into town and call for reinforcements and plan some kind of way to get the weapons back from the Gati family. And just for anyone who is not super familiar with Manifestian lore, when I say family, I mean a criminal syndicate of smugglers, gun runners, murderers, basically organized crime syndicate known as the family. There's various different families, and the biggest family in the Alanastead territory is the Gati family. So, we left off with you on the outskirts of the town of Lily Ridge, just as the sun was rising. Those of you who are napping were woken up when Cho shouted out that you guys were there. As you approach Lily Ridge, you can see it has 3 main thoroughfares that intersect near the northern part of town. Spreading out from these main roads are several other roads of various lengths that connect those main thoroughfares across the town at various points. The effect is a town with an almost web-like shape that spreads out away from the sheer cliff edge that it sits against in the the bottom of the cliff edge that it sits against in the northwestern part of town. Two main features you can spot as you get close is the LRC tower, the Long Range Communications Tower, is located just east of that main intersection, and a large estate stands out from the rest of the town, kind of a conglomeration of closely knit buildings. There's this estate kind of sets apart because it is gated. It has like a stone wall, you see that at least against where it touches the town, and then its northern and eastern sides are butt up against a forest area. And this estate sits prominently on the eastern edge of the town of Lily Ridge, at the end of one of those main thoroughfares. Cho rolls into town, driving up through one of the thoroughfares, kind of breaking off of the like dirt path into like a little bit more of a well-kept, like stamped path, and is able to kind of drive clearly because there's not a lot of foot traffic this early in the morning. And she pulls up into that little intersection that kind of makes a town square on the northern part of town, and pulls over towards the LRC tower. She stops the car, hops out, slams the door, kind of looking around as she does, and she goes, "All right, I'm gonna send a message over to Rufus, tell him what happened to Miguel, and see if we can get some backup here to move against the family."
Sure. Okay. I guess we'll get rooms.
She points over to a saloon on the other side of the kind of town square. She goes, "Yeah, I'll meet you in there."
Great. So I think we head that way.
As you do, she goes and starts interacting with the LRC tower, kind of pulling down one of the terminals and slotting in her call sign tag, and begins sending a message to Rufus, you assume, at least. You guys are, it's like I said, there's not a lot of people out and about. It's like very early in the morning. You do see a few people, like people opening up shops, and they don't seem like suspicious of you. They do mark you as like newcomers into town at a weird hour, but like it's not super crazy.
Will we need to spruce up our disguises before we go in, or are they still mostly in effect?
I mean, you've been on the road for a whole day, so it feels like you guys probably would have had to at least take off those disguises for comfort's sake, unless you were planning on just wearing prosthetics and like makeup. You don't have a lot of prosthetics. It's mostly just like makeup and wigs and stuff. So you could have like slammed back on the wig and like, you might have to touch up the makeup. Your disguises aren't like super intact, but like you don't look extremely like yourselves.
Have a little more concealer on my tattoo, I suppose.
Yeah, Cho sort of took the decision out of my hands as to whether we were just going to drive into the middle of town looking like us, wanted criminals, and then just go sort of use the LRC tower with the tag associated with her, a wanted criminal. So let's go into this bar and try to, lay low.
So you push open the doors of the Lily Ridge Saloon. It is quiet in there. You see there's someone sleeping on the bar. There is a kind of not like stately looking gentleman, but like a cleanly dressed gentleman, like sipping coffee and like reading an LRC printout, basically a newspaper. He's like, he glances up, sees you. He like looks like he's just recently woke up. And then behind the bar, you see a pretty tired looking bartender. She looks up from like, she was kind of like sketching on a piece of paper, and she looks up and sees you, slides the paper under the bar, and looks around, lets out like kind of like pointed cough. And you see a man with like a shotgun kind of like leaning up against the stair banisters, like half asleep, like kind of like nodding off. And he's like, and like kind of like gets the like drool out of his mustache. And then she, as you approach, howdy.
Hey, me and my friends here, we use a couple rooms.
All right, just the three of you, one room.
Let's make it 2.
All right, there'll be 2 spurs.
Yeah, sure thing. I'll hand her 3 spurs. Just keep the change.
Thank you kindly, sir. My name's Sue, she says as she hands you 2 keys, slides them across the bar. Can I get you anything to drink?
Spot of coffee wouldn't go amiss for me, Miss Sue.
Just put a pot on. And she pours you a fresh cup of coffee.
A little more sugar, if you please.
Would you mind doing it yourself then?
Oh, sure, yes, thank you very much. No,
She like sets a tin in front of you with the sugar and the coffee.
putting spoonful after spoonful into his coffee and stirring it in.
As like if you go like for like past like 4, if you go for like a 5th one, like she'll like be like, anyone else need anything? As she like pulls it from you.
Yeah, no, I'm good. This guy, it's barely coffee at this point, huh?
Yeah. What? Strange hour to be rolling into town. You don't mind me saying. You got
Hey, you know,
business in Lily Ridge?
yeah, it's here to meet some friends. Maybe, do a job. Who knows? Just trying to make some cash, talk to some old friends in town, get the lay of the land. It's been a while since I've been at Lily Ridge,
Well, if you're looking for work, there's always farm hands needed in the field to the southeast of town. Or if you're looking for something, she kind of like sizes you up a little bit, a little more exciting. You may talk to the sheriff. The office is down near the cliff edge on the western part of town.
You got like, is the sheriff looking for help or just bounty board stuff?
Bounty boards, most like, but could be there's more work to be had. I'm not sure. But otherwise, most of the posts in town are taken. Um, Besides menial work that, of course, anyone coming through town looking to earn an easy spur or 2 could do. Stables, farmhand, work like that. Lily Ridge is a quiet, quaint town. Of course, you know that, having passed through town before.
Sure, yeah, but it's been a while. It's gotten a little bigger since I was here last.
We are fortunate with prosperity. Enjoy your rooms.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, and I'll toss her a spur for the coffee and the sugar.
She'll take it. Thank you. She tucks it into her apron.
No, thank you.
I would like, can I get a read on, is Lily Ridge a quiet, quaint town? Or at the very least, does Sue believe it is?
Yeah, you can go ahead and roll manipulate, see if she's trying to lie to you. Since you have playing the player.
I've got 2 hits, 10 high.
Okay. So she's not lying in that regard. The town actually, you think like there's a pretty good chance that this town is in fact pretty quiet and doesn't like get a lot of overt like above board activity. She's definitely seems to think it is a nice quiet town. You can tell that the prosperity bit is probably true. Like the streets are cleaner and wider than you've seen in many other like smaller towns. The buildings are nice and maintained. It seems like there's a decent amount of money in this settlement as far as settlement wealth goes.
Okay. I forget. Did Cho tell us that the Gatti family was based here, or that they just had a warehouse here?
They she didn't say like a warehouse or anything. She also didn't say that this is like where they were based out of. But she did say like she knew an important member of the Gati family lived here.
Okay.
And that like the weapons were being like she said like they would have taken the weapons here.
Okay. Can I use my previous knowledge as someone who has passed through the criminal circles of Alanastead and its territories? Do I know anything about the Gati family's operations here?
You can absolutely roll connections for that. Because it's the family, and you're a grifter, so you're kind of tied to the criminal underworld. But what's your history? Just educated, right?
Yeah, I'm educated about a lot of things.
Yeah. But you are from Alanastead, so like kind of like the discreetness of the family, but the proximity of your work to like where they might operate out of. I think you're just sitting at a -2.
Okay. Oh, that's pretty good. That's 4 hits.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, you have a pretty decent idea. First off, as you may have guessed, that estate is definitely a Gati estate. You know that a KO Gati lives there. You don't know a whole lot about her, except for that she is an important member of the Gati family. I mean, anyone with the actual last name Gati within the Gati family is definitely like an important person. You you don't know a whole lot about her personally, but you know that like the Gati family in general, they are, as far as like the criminal underworld goes, like they're pretty prim and proper. They carry themselves like royalty. They they are very like they have a kind of a reputation for being way less violent than some of the other family. They're much more prone to like being willing to make a deal. But you also like that doesn't you also don't get the sense like they're not soft, right? Like if you cross them, they will kill you. But they have this kind of like, as far as the family goes, they have this kind of reputation as being like, better, if that makes sense. Like, or at least they think they're better than the others because they conduct themselves in a more civilized way than some other family members. Like to compare it to the O'Malley family up in Freedom and Liberty City. The O'Malley family, they have a reputation for being a little bit more like willing to get their hands dirty. They were the first family to like deal in drugs and like that kind of thing. Whereas the Gati family is a lot more clean with their business, and they have a lot more people in the upper echelons of the government and the church in Alanastead. So they like kind of they're like as close to legitimate as the family can get.
Yeah, if they just sort of give up the murder and the racketeering.
Yeah,
it'd
exactly.
be a business.
Yeah, kind of. Let's see what else. You know that. Yeah, actually, you know what? I don't think you know anything else specific right now. But with your 4 successes, like down the road, basically, like as you maybe get a more of the lay of the land of this area, there's like more opportunities for you. Like I will just tell you that you know things.
Okay.
Because you'll be like, oh, this I know this about this. I know this about this as they come up.
I'll make connections.
Yeah.
I do have one question. Do I know what the current situation is, at least broadly, between the O'Malley family and the Gati family?
Not really. Just because you haven't. You're like a little bit more of a lone
really
operator.
the important thing is, are they currently at war?
No, none of the families are currently at like an open war. The you at least know what, like, having like talked with various people in the criminal underworld, like you know that there was like dust up with the O'Malley and the Renzo family a little while back, and the Renzo family was eliminated. They were like completely defeated. And some Renzo people, split off and joined up with the Kowalski family or the Gatti family in Glenspire and Alanastead, respectively. But a lot of them just kind of got like absorbed by the O'Malley family. And with that, at that point, the O'Malley family became like way too big for any other family to really like contest with. So they kind of were able to call the shots as far as like the criminal underworld on the entire planet of Manifest, at least specifically in the Garden, if not also the Badlands. And so they made a lot of enemies. So no one, like, that like the O'Malleys were like the big bad guys in the family like underworld type intrigue for a little while. But pretty recently, the leader of the O'Malley family, Peter O'Malley, was killed, and now they kind of have a like a power vacuum that's kind of made the O'Malley family lose momentum and has allowed the other family to kind of like pick up the pace and like start like trying to. There's like a lot of infighting within the O'Malley family, which is kind of taking them a little bit more off the board. And so like there's not really like there may have been a war brewing a little while ago, but it's been a couple of years, and now it's like the O'Malley family's fallen down to almost the same level, at least until they kind of get their act together.
Okay. Sure. I will, politely indicate to my companions that we should, see that our room is fine, and then relay pretty much all of that information to them as just sort of here's what I know about what's going on with the people we're about to rob / deal with.
Cool. So there's 2 rooms. Each room has 2 twin-sized beds. They're a little bit cramped. They're not very far apart. There's like a very small nightstand separating them. But the rooms themselves are like tiny but nice.
Great. Yeah, so that's sort of what I know about, the Gatti family and their current standing within the family at large. Nobody's really said it, but I feel like now we're sort of in brainstorming for how to deal with Cho. So, like, if you've got ideas, just throw them out there. There's no bad ideas at this stage.
I feel like the easiest thing to do would be to get caught stealing the guns, but hopefully only get Cho caught, or anybody else who comes for backup. If we're trying to broker a deal, perhaps? I'm not sure how that would work.
I think maybe I've got sort of the frame of a plan.
Oh, we're all very surprised.
I know. It's been so little time, and yet already I have a well-crafted and excellent scheme. No, so the Gatti family tend to be, like I said earlier, willing to make deals. And of course, the O'Malley family is currently in a bit of a dust-up with itself. I think there's an opportunity to pose as an emissary of someone trying to make waves within the O'Malley family and offer the Gatti family the chance to take care of this thorn in our side, the Dead Man's gang. And in exchange, they will be looked upon favorably when our faction of the O'Malleys gets our shit together. Now, it does have some risks and, opportunities to be hunted down by the family for the rest of our lives instead of the Dead Man's gang. But I think it has a reasonably high chance of success.
What do you put our chances at?
Like 65-35, maybe as high as 70-30.
slimmer margin than I would prefer, but larger than I expected, to be quite honest. So, well,
What if instead of posing as that one family to that other family, what if like we were just people presenting an opportunity? Like if they rescued Marshall Chen, Yen,
Yeah.
then like that would make them look good with the ambassador in the town they already run. Maybe.
It's a really fantastic idea, Pax.
Thanks. I just thought it was like 7 or 10 steps less than yours, and
No, you've stumbled onto a really important skill in grifting, which is you can always think bigger. Here I was trying to solve our immediate problem of Cho with a rather elaborate plan, and you've sort of just thrown out maybe a very good simple plan to deal with our overarching problem.
it's direct and to the point. I quite like it. Who would we be posing as? It'd have to be somebody with some kind of reputation, I believe.
oh, I just thought I would be like us,
Oh,
but
well,
like just people.
sure.
I mean, we could be other people. This is like where I'm really at a loss. I don't know.
Sure, yeah, no, see, I think it sort of doesn't matter how we get the introduction, because once we're there, it is a good thing to offer them that they will like, I think, and they'll be willing to perhaps forgive any sort of deception into securing the meeting.
Sure. Well, now, how do we get there without Cho noticing is the next problem.
Maybe, what about this? There's a part in her plan that requires us to split up. And some of us, when we split up from her, instead of doing the things she asks, would go do something else.
That's not bad.
I am sort of worried about. I did want to bring up. I think we should steal her LRC tag and see exactly what she's sent to Rufus, if possible.
Oh, sure. Yeah. When? Now?
No, she's probably still using it.
Yeah.
Okay, if you happen to have the opportunity.
I will.
I also think maybe we just need the one LRC tag this time.
What? Why?
Well, I was looking for her specific messages, right? I mean, walking through the town square, just picking pockets. I don't know if that's the best use of our time right now.
Right, we only need 6 or 7 if we're going to send a message.
But one is so easy. It's like, I guess the stakes are higher because it's Cho. So I guess it's fine.
Makes it more fun if that helps you.
Well, it's less of a dance, which is kind of the fun part. You like one at a time, really smooth motions into another. Bump into this person, apologize, back up into that person, apologize, like trip a little bit, and all of a sudden you've got 4 LRC tags.
Wouldn't have taken you for a dancer, Pax.
No, I just like, it's just, yeah, okay.
Sounds like the elements are the same.
Take
But, yeah, all right.
Then there's a knock on the door.
I'll open it.
It's Cho.
Great.
She kind of glances in the room, sees like the two beds and goes, "Is this the only room?"
No, we got one more.
All right, I'll take that one. If it's like this, anyone can share. I send a message to Rufus. If I were to take a guess, I'd assume he would send Sierra and the Madman to give us some assistance. I say we all rest up, and tomorrow morning we come up with a plan. Well, not tomorrow morning. We all rest up. It's morning now. We all rest up, and this afternoon we put our heads together and come up with a plan. So that way, by the time Sierra and the Madman get here, I mean, if they're taking Bo's motorcycle, it will take them at least 2 days to get here. At that point, we're starting to cut it pretty close. So I want to have a plan in place by the time they show up, so we can just tell them what we need them to do.
Sure, that sounds great. I kind of napped on sort of the last leg here. Actually pretty fresh. I was thinking I might, get a little unrecognizable, sort of walk around town, get a lay of the land, see what's going on.
Sure, seems good. She just seems a little bit out of it. She's pretty tired. Still kind of maybe reeling from the death of Miguel a little bit. And so she goes, "Right, key to the other room."
Here you go.
She takes it, and she goes, "Who's staying with me?"
Oh, me.
All right. And she walks over to the other room, opens it, and then tosses you a key.
Gotcha.
And I don't know if you follow her in, but she's going to bed.
Not right now.
Cool.
I'll be in a little later.
She shuts the door. You hear it lock.
Great. So I guess I'm just going to go walk around.
Well, I was going to say if there's a general store, or perhaps if we're lacking a farrier, so maybe I'll take a walk with you.
Sure, we're going to have to do something about your whole...
But
we're going to have to do something.
That's fair enough, I understand.
Yeah, I would like to put disguises on all of us, like good ones, and not just, I put the wig back on from 2 days ago.
Sure. Go ahead and roll a blend to assist your compatriots.
So we'll do Kinsey first. Kinsey, you get a +4.
Oh, good. I was hoping for a +4.
And then we'll do Pax. Pax, I regret I can give you only but a +3.
This is to blend?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then for me, it's a pretty good roll. It's an extremely good roll. Hey, that's a +6.
You don't assist yourself, you just roll blend.
Oh, but I'm putting on the disguise, right?
You have a very good disguise. It's not really a +6 though. It's just your disguise is very good.
What's your rating 6 disguise?
What's your highest for your disguise?
It is a 12.
Okay. Cool.
Look, I'm going to spend a grit to make my own luck.
All right. So the three of you are setting out into town.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I think so. I have tried to make myself look like... I want to look like I came in from a factory town.
Sure.
So, stylish, hair slicked back. Maybe people wonder if, hey, that guy looks, he might be rich or, in the family. Who knows? Who's to say, even?
All right. So yeah. Everyone roll a new blend. So you get your pluses. Those of you who were assisted by Roland, and then Roland just roll a blend for me that has nothing to do with your disguise. This is just you not like drawing unwanted attention to yourself. This is for you guys just like blending in with the town and seeming like you belong.
I spent a grit to make my own luck.
What's your highest?
16.
And Kinsey?
I spent 2 grit to get 1 success with a high of 2.
Okay.
I will spend 2 grit to play to the gallery to count as 13, which then explodes.
Must mean that.
Cool. I got a 13. I got 4 hits, but the 13's sort of the big deal here.
Okay. All right. So you set out into town. It's still very early. There's not a whole lot of foot traffic, like I said. Some of the shops are starting to open up. You just kind of wander aimlessly. No. So you're kind of on the western part of town, which is a little bit more. It's like you're closer to that like kind of cliff edge that serves as like a wall for the town. And the rest of the town kind of branches out away from there to the northeast, east, southeast, south, and then southwest.
So the town's at the bottom of a cliff, not
Yes, it is at the bottom.
Okay.
It is at the bottom of a cliff.
Sorry.
It's at the bottom of a cliff and nestled in between two like kind of forests.
I'm sort of interested in meandering my way just around, looking for any kind of like warehouse-like buildings. I want to see if it's possible to rule out some places to where we might need to go.
For like where they might be keeping the weapons?
Yeah, I'm looking for a warehouse that has like a guy hanging out front who like very conspicuously is there and doesn't seem to have a job, and he's just kind of there. Maybe if you look very closely, you can see a gun, and
Okay.
you know what I'm talking about.
So how high of a blend? I'll use your previous blend roll as like because you have playing the player. So instead of having to roll perception, you could roll blend to see into people trying to blend.
Sure.
So what was you said your highest was a 13?
Yeah.
Okay. How many net successes over a 6?
2.
Okay.
And
Cool.
a 7 also.
So that's what you're doing. Are you guys staying together, or is the group kind of splitting up and getting like kind of taking in the whole town separately?
I'll be meeting up with them later for sure.
Okay, so Kinsey's definitely splitting from Roland. What about you, Pax?
I also wanted to head pretty much straight to that manor house.
Okay, so it seems like the three of you are in fact splitting up then,
Yeah.
right? Because Roland's kind of taking in the meat of the town. Kinsey's taking in the other. Like they're kind of both like splitting to like kind of start on ends and move towards each other almost. It seems like, and then Pax is just beelining it towards down the eastern thoroughfare, which dead ends at the estate. So Pax, you're kind of scoping out the estate. Is that what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't want to be suspicious doing it.
Well, that was what your blend roll was for.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go ahead and roll a perception. We'll put it at a -3.
What? Why?
Sorry, an observe test at a -3.
Still what?
It's
Why,
got-
huh?
It's got walls.
It does have walls.
Hard to see over.
Oh,
Yeah.
please.
From certain parts of towns, you can kind of see like a little bit because it's uneven ground and everything, so you can get glimpses at parts of town. But like the closer you get, the harder it is to like see into it, that kind of thing. And what are you looking for, Kinsey?
I'm just trying to get rid of the damn remains of this freaking skunk ape.
You're specifically trying to find a furry.
No, I'm not lying when I say that. I really would like to get rid of it. I'll observe what I can on the way, for sure, but I'd like to do both if I can.
Okay, so you can either roll observe or connections. Connections to kind of find someone who will purchase what you're selling. or observe just to like through sheer legwork find the person.
Understood. Sure.
And yeah, you don't have any penalty to yours.
Perfect. What, I'm selling something here now. There's a high of 4, but 2 successes.
Okay, sweet. And Pax, what did you get on your observe?
I got 3 hits with a high of 8.
Okay. So three you said?
Yes. An 8, a 4, and a 1.
Okay. So we'll start with Kinsey. Kinsey, you're walking around the like southwestern part of town. You kind of follow that main thoroughfare. That kind of there's one of the main thoroughfares like goes from the complete southwestern part of town all the way to the complete northeastern part of town. And so you're heading down that main thoroughfare. You find like kind of a little bit of a few shops basically. And as you get a little bit closer towards the edge of town, you do find it's kind of it's like a butcher's shop, but you can tell like by the look of it that like it's kind of like a trapper's butcher's shop. So like they sell pelts and stuff as well, instead of just meat. So it's kind of like a mix of a butcher's shop and a furrier's shop. And he is just opening up. It's an elderly man, maybe like in his 70s, strong arms, but kind of a crooked back. And he's basically chopping up like some meat for the beginning of the day, and like sliding it into coolers.
Good morning, my friend. How are you doing this morning?
You're up early.
Yes, well, had a bit of a long night of travel and still a little bit hopped up, you know what I mean? So I figured I'd take in the sights and maybe, see what kind of stalls were around.
Sure. You looking for meat by the pound, or you want a sandwich or something? You want me to make up a dish for you on the fly?
Well, I was actually wondering if perhaps you'd like to buy some supplies. I have a couple of exotic meats and furs and other types of sorts of things, if you're interested.
Make it quick, he says, like continuing to work while you are talking to him.
We'll start with the meat. I have a little bit of caloo jerky and a little bit of cured caloo meat. If that interests you. Don't get much caloo around here, I assume.
You're right. That's not too common. I can't quite get to the high ground in the middle of the night like I used to, so.
Understandably.
Yeah. Well, let me see what you got. How many? What kind of Kaloo stuff do you have?
I just wrote down caloo jerky and meat. Perhaps we've eaten some of the meat on the range, so I would say mostly jerky.
Okay. Yeah, he kind of looks at that. Goes, "You mind?"
Oh, may go right ahead.
And he like takes a bite out of one of them and like chews on it. And like nods. He goes, "Yeah, good seasoning." And like
thank you very much.
Finishes that bit and he goes, "How much you wanting for the lot?"
Well, I'll tell you what. Tell me what else you might be interested in, and maybe you can think about a lump sum. So I've also got some skunk ape meat and jerky here as well. Not necessarily the best, but for the connoisseur, people who enjoy it.
You can roll manipulate.
I don't think I will. I don't need. I'm not trying to trick this man into buying my wares. I've got other things that he might be interested in.
Sure. He kind of goes like, I think I'll pass on skunk ape meat. You can eat that on the road. It ain't fit for eating in town.
Fair enough. I'll keep it for my emergency rations. Do you mind if I just throw the meat out in a bin here or something? I'm not keen to carry it much further.
Yeah, sure. and he slides reaches pulls you behind, like slides like a bin over and like unseals the top, and it's just like full of like gristle and bones and stuff like that.
Yes, I'll try and kind of bury it down so it's not too smelly for you.
As you start burying, he's like, "Don't mind, I take it out frequently. Throw it out into the forest. There, it's how I season my traps."
Oh, I see. I thought you was going to say you just throw your garbage out into into nature. But I thought that was quite interesting. For the traps, that makes sense. Anyway, so I've also got
meat and bone. Smells good to the animals.
Isn't that right? Well, I've also got a skunk ape pelt, not the best quality, but again, you could make a nice hat out of it.
Let me take a smell of it here.
Take a look.
He sits there and like shoves it into his face, like takes a big whiff, and he goes, "All right, you cleaned it pretty good."
Scrubbed it in the river. It was quite rank.
It's not everyone knows how to get that smell out. He kind of looks at it. He goes, "It's in good condition too." Rolls it up, sets it down. He goes, "Yeah, I might be interested. I could do something with that."
Right, and finally, the piece of resistance. I've also got one fully formed skunk ape horn. It's got types of curative properties, and for the right collector, you never know who might buy it.
Absolutely, I'm interested in that.
All right, so this lot, I'd say, might be worth, I'd say, at least 6 spurs.
He looks it up and down and is like, "Oh, well, I'd feel bad taking advantage of you, sir. 6 is just a mite bit low. Let's go ahead and call it 8.
Well, I do appreciate that. I like the way you do your business. What was your name, sir?
Name's no, I had a name. Where is it?
I had a name. What?
I have a name. It's a good one too. Hector.
Hector the Butcher, of course. 8 spurs. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Would you
He opens up the cashier cash register, has to like kind of give it a hit to like unstick it, and then he pays you 8 spurs and like bundles up the supplies.
Thanks very much. I'm also in the market for some cubes. Do you think you could point me to a general store?
Yeah. Actually, you might have seen it on the way here. So he'll say there's a couple stores depending on what you're looking for. There's a hardware store to the south on the south thoroughfare, and just a little bit up towards the town square. There's a general goods store nearby, owned by a woman named Janice.
Janice, thank you very much. And thank you again for this bird, sir.
Thanks for the supplies. Sure you don't want nothing to eat? Said you just come off the road.
If you could throw together a sandwich, I won't say no.
All right, I'll cost you a spur.
Give him a spur.
And he takes some meat and makes you a very nice sandwich. You take a bite of it. It's like I don't know if the player has ever gone and like gotten like fresh at the deli cut, right?
Sure.
It's like, it's not, he doesn't give you refrigerated stuff. You got him in the morning, so like it's like he just like sliced this meat, and it's got like a really nice like rub to it. You think like he probably has actually been awake for a little while this morning, like prepping this meat, and then like he only opened up once he started cutting it.
Sure.
And it's very good. It's delicious.
This is excellent. I think I'll wrap this other half for later.
All right. You have a nice day, sir.
And you as well, Hector. Thank you again.
Meanwhile, I don't know. Why?
I don't know.
Stop it. Technical difficulties. Meanwhile, Roland, your thing's a little bit wider scale, so we'll do you last.
Sure.
Pax, you make your way towards the estate. You said you got 3 hits on observe?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you get a pretty good view of this thing, at least what you can from outside the walls. You can tell. So the manor, the actual like building within the estate, sits in the center of very well groomed grounds. There's a winding stone path from this large gate that kind of is where the thoroughfare dead ends at. All the way up towards where the manor is. The walls where this manor is in contact with the town, which is the not the manor, the grounds, the western and southern edges of the grounds. Those are all tall stone. But you are able to, like, at one point, as you're like cresting over a hill, like get a glimpse into the forest area, and you see that stone wall gives way to tall metal, like iron fencing, with like just a few inches between like metal rods sticking up. It's very like elegantly like crafted. It's not just like rebar stuck in the ground. And it's that is like kind of goes and disappears into the forest area that borders the north and the west borders of the ground. Um, you also see that the ground contains multiple like smaller stone paths and hedges and a few ponds and fountains that kind of break it up in an aesthetically pleasing way. So it's not just all open and like barren, and like it looks like the grass and the hedges and everything is super well maintained. And you also notice that there's another structure besides just the large, like, mansion, basically. A little bit closer towards the foresty area, there is a narrow 2-story building that you specifically can easily identify. Like, that's servants' quarters. And even at this early hour, you're able to spot multiple people on the grounds. Not like hustling and bustling, but there's basically like around the walls and the fencing and like in various areas near the manor, you see what can only be called basically patrols, even at this hour. And even though it's super early, a time where like maybe the patrols might be a little bit lighter, you see easily like half a dozen people walking around. They're not like walking around, like a couple of them have like guns slung over their shoulders, but they're not like walking around like at the ready. But like they're definitely like guards here. They're all very well dressed in nice, probably armored clothing. And they are all well groomed. They look clean. So it's not like you wouldn't say this is mercenaries or like necessarily like low end grunt like guard services. These might be family members. And you also do see a few servants moving around. It seems like, right by the gate, it's like a tall iron gate and an archway in the stone wall. There's like a little like, gatehouse where there's like definitely one of those guards there, but also you see a servant there like talking with the guard and like, they're like going through like books and stuff. You kind of are able to kind of glimpse them at an angle. And you do see occasional servants on the grounds, like they're watering the plants, cleaning out the fountain. All of these servants are indentured. They have that like thin metal kind of like incomplete collar. It's like almost like a horseshoe shaped collar that kind of curves in just a little bit closer to the center. And it's very ornate, very lightweight metal. But it does identify them as indentured to some kind of contract, probably the people who live here, in servitude until they pay off their debts. They're all, as far as indentured servants go, like someone who was previously in the indentured servant life, you've seen various types. These ones you wouldn't guess that these are like mistreated particularly. Their clothes are nicer than what you've seen some. Like they're wearing uniforms and they're clean, nice uniforms, like closer to like butlers and maids type thing, as opposed to like, there is farmland to the south of town. You don't expect any of these are house-based servants, not like menial labor-based servants. Though there are a few of them like tending to the grounds here, but mostly it's just like trimming hedges and cleaning out things and like kind of making it nice. Let's see what else you get, because you did get 3, and I think that's about it. That's what you get. Kind of scoping this place out.
Sure. Is this like a smooth stone wall, or is this like a Gothic wall made of actual stone? Like, is it more like brick, or is it? Basically, is it climbable? I think I could scale this wall?
I think I'd say it's closer to brick. With a little bit of assistance, you might be able to scale it. It's not super tall, right? It's like 8 to 10 feet at most.
Okay.
Just enough to like higher than 8, probably 10 feet. So not enough to like be able to easily see over, but not so much that it's like garish and like very, very like hard to bypass for your skill set.
Okay. It is
a very nice wall too. It's everything about this, the architecture of everything in this estate is very, very nice, very wealthy feeling, very clean, good, aesthetically pleasing.
Okay. Rats. Well, I guess if I went around to the other side where there's like metal bars, could I see better?
Yeah, I think you probably did at a certain point, like because you can
Okay.
break out of the outskirts of town and kind of go into the forest paths.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a little more careful. You have to, because there's more like while you can see more, they might be able to see more too. But like kind of like looking through the trees, that's kind of how you were able to get a lot of this, right? You kind of noticed that I think that's part of it, right? You kind of got the glimpse that the wall made like kind of became more visible if you went into the forest. So then you took a stroll down a nice forest path and then strayed from said path and went through some thicker areas of the forest until you could lay eyes on the grounds themselves.
Okay.
I guess you'd also be able to spot that like that gate isn't the only gate. There is a gate. There's a part. One of those like side roads does attach to the. There's a smaller gate on the southern wall of the estate. And then also there's a gate in the northeast corner that it's larger, so you think it might be for like taking the horses or something into the woods.
Okay. Cool.
And there are guards at all the gates.
Yeah. All right. I will head back into the head back to the saloon
Okay.
to take a short nap. By that I mean steal her LRC tag.
Okay. So it definitely takes you a little bit of while, like especially like slinking through the woods, right? So Roland, you scour this town. You're getting a pretty good lay of it, just kind of like walking around. It's getting, as like the town kind of wakes up, you see more and more people out and about. And you got how many successes did you say?
2.
2, and your high was 13?
Mm-hmm.
So you'd pretty much guess that like everywhere you look, it looks like it is what it's like what you see is what you get, right? There's no weird like there's some residential areas, and you see like you kind of like scope them out for a minute to see like who leaves or if there's like weird guards or anything, and like it just seems like that's where people live. They just look like townies. You do get a sense like this is definitely like a wealthier town. Not like everyone here would qualify for like the privileged history, but it is a nice settlement. It's a nice, clean settlement. It looks like money has been put into this settlement. Like it has just a little bit more infrastructure than some settlements you've been to. Not a whole lot more, but just enough to make it like seem nice and quaint and like a good place to live. And yeah, you like you do a thorough sweep, and you're pretty confident that like no one around, at least, yeah, no, you don't see really anyone suspicious. No one's suspicious in the way that matters. At least maybe you see like, someone like slipping out of like a brothel who you're like, you shouldn't have been there, right? And like, and like you see like maybe like someone cheating at cards or something like that. Like you see like you see flawed people, but no one that you would say is like family level suspicious.
So what you're saying is no one in this town is suspicious. That's suspicious.
There are suspicious people, just not suspicious in the way that matters for you.
Sure. That in itself is off-putting.
Yeah, what you're able to tell is like as far as like the stereotype of like law and order in the garden, like this town like matches it. It looks like it is well kept. Not just like because people like have like maybe a higher quality of living, but like they follow the laws, and the laws are like fair and probably enforced like fairly, but like consistently.
Huh. Okay. Weird. I'm gonna head towards the sheriff's office.
Okay.
Just, maybe take a quick perusal of the bounty board, see what's going on there, and then decide whether or not to speak to this sheriff about the indeterminate work that may or may not be in his office.
So you go to look at the bounty board. It is a hologram bounty board, so you kind of like as you approach, it kind of lights up, and you do see like off in the corner there's the wanted dead man's gang bounty board where you can see like all of them. Miguel still has a bounty, and it's gone up now. You look around. If you like dig a little bit, right, like you kind of like it reacts as you're like looking, like it kind of seems to track your eyes, so like it kind of like makes the places you're looking like kind of like bigger and larger, so you can kind of like spot like different areas. There's various bounties, not just like bounties as far as like this person's wanted. There's like help needed with caravan this way. There's like job postings and stuff too, for like various things like security for caravans, like guard needed for like debt for guard bank looking for work for red eye shift, like that kind of thing. And you do like notice that your bounty isn't up here, and neither is Pax and Kinsey. It doesn't look like, maybe there's not a lot of bounty hunters that come through here. Most of the postings here are like work for like the various settlements, and like there's like a couple like higher profile like bounties like the Dead Man's Gang and a couple other things, but you guys don't seem to qualify for their limited space on like wanted posters.
That's great. That's maybe my favorite sentence.
And then you hear boots on a porch, and you look over to your right, and the sheriff's door is opened up, and leaning on the banister of his porch, a fit man, probably in his mid to late 20s. He's sipping a coffee, and looks to you and he goes, "Looking for work?" coming through town?
Yeah, I'm here visiting an old friend, and I'm gonna be in town for a couple days. Guys, gotta make some spurs. Sue down at the saloon mentioned there might be work here, so I thought I'd take a look at the bounty board, see what was going on.
He points at it and he goes, listings are up to date. Not a ton of work in town, unfortunately, but depending on how long you're in town, I might think of you. What's your name?
James DeMarciano.
Well, James, and he sets his coffee on the banister. And he goes, name's Benito. Sheriff Hinman, if you must.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Benito.
He shakes your hand and says, well, I'm going to go ahead and take a stroll around town. You're welcome to join me if you're looking for company.
Yeah, sure. I like to get up early, like to take a walk, get some blood flowing. Always good.
Sure thing. Reaches up, grabs his coffee off the banister, and then just starts walking through town.
Yeah, I'll walk with the sheriff.
Yeah. He's walking around. He's giving you a little bit of a tour too. He doesn't ask you probing questions, but he asks you questions about yourself, and you get the feeling it's the sheriff's standard operating procedure of let me get a feel for you by asking you about yourself. It's polite and informative. So let's go ahead and just have you roll a manipulation. Blend. We'll have you roll a blend test. Actually, it's just trying to have pleasant conversation, and skirt around because he's not asking you are you a wanted criminal?
I don't know why you would ask that. Of course not.
What are you talking about?
Am I dressed to impress?
Yes.
Great. It's a pretty good roll.
You're up against a 9.
Hey, I got a 13 and a 9.
All right, so that's 2 net successes. He asks you, he goes, look like you just stepped out of the factory town. You from Alonstead?
No, actually, I'm from up in Freedom.
A hard place. Quite a long journey too. Strange for you to be coming through Lily Ridge. Do you have a family here?
No, I got a friend of mine from back in our school days. I thought I'd pay him a surprise visit.
Oh, someone in town. I might know him. I do have a pretty good sense of just about everyone in town. If there's someone local.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Might be funny if the sheriff comes calling for him. Give him a nice, be a fun prank,
I'm not looking to do any pranks. Just wondering who your friend is.
His name's Dennis. Dennis DeMarco. I've just made something up because I didn't expect it to go this far.
Sure.
Have I stumbled upon a real person?
No. He goes, huh. Is he, he works down at the farm, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's in the agriculture business,
Yeah. I don't, they're kind of self-maintained. I don't know all of the faces and names around there. I mostly know, I know his boss, Bruce, good fella, pays them a nice fair wage, for their hard work. So I'd say Dennis has a pretty good gig there.
Yeah, he, last time I talked to him, he seemed pretty happy.
Yeah, and he just, keeps chatting with you. I don't know if there's anything you want, any information you're trying to pump out of the sheriff during this conversation, but
I guess I'm trying to. This town unnerves me with how idyllic it seems to be, despite the tremendous family presence 2 blocks that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to just, sort of skirt around that and just try and. I think. I think this town isn't what it seems, but I don't know how.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you like mention the manor, like as he's kind of walking around, like you can see the manor from various parts of town, right? So you like kind of gesture to that. He goes, "Oh yeah, the Gatti estate. Akayo Gatti lives up there. Well, she's done a lot for this town. She puts a lot back in, makes sure people here are well taken care of. Just the other day, or just a few months ago, there was a hell of a storm that rolled through town and messed up the southern the southern thoroughfare. Destroyed almost a couple of almost destroyed a couple of businesses and nearly flattened one of the apartment buildings. And well, people there, they were about ready to move on to another town or start working in the fields or looking for work like what you saw over there, something that requires a little bit more skill and finesse. But wasn't really much to worry about. Ms. Gotti, she paid out of pocket to refurbish the town. She takes care of it. She's sort of a de facto mayor for the town, as it were. We owe her a great debt.
Well, you don't hear about a lot of rich folks like that in freedom, if you know what I mean. It's a refreshing story to hear.
Well, and he kind of like is like kicks a little bit awkwardly at his boot. Like you can tell he's not giving the full, like at this point he's like trying to find like the polite thing to say. He's like, well, she has her hand in many different businesses, and well, the maintenance of this town is but a small expense for the likes of her. As far as I see it, she's taking care of her own home, making sure these streets and people are taken care of.
Hey, I just wish there was more like her.
It'd be nice. The world would be a better place. But I believe here's where I'll take my leave. I gotta go in here and talk to a fellow that owns this business. See about a meeting we were trying to arrange between him and a couple other people.
Oh yeah, it was great to meet you, Benito. Maybe we'll talk again. I'll be in town for a couple days.
All right. What did you say your name was? You would have told me at this point. I just forgot what your fake name is.
Sure. James Damasciano.
He goes, pleasure's all mine, Mr. Damasciano.
Please, James.
All right. He tips his hat to you and then goes walking into it's a botanist shop.
Okay, a drug deal.
Lots of very pretty potted plants outside.
Sure, drug plants. Yeah, I'll head back to the saloon at this point.
All right. Kinsey.
Yeah.
You were heading towards the general store?
Either the general store or the hardware store. I just need tech cubes and the other kind of cube, machinery cube.
Sure. What did I say the woman's name was? Janice, yeah. So you walk in, little bell, bling, ding. It's a nice, well laid out shop with kind of like a little bit above waist high shelves that kind of like give you a comfortable walk around. It's not overly stocked, but you wouldn't say it's understocked. It has decent supplies that from what you can tell, and you can very easily like rummage together enough to like make up a machinery cube and or I guess how many machinery cubes and tech cubes are you trying to purchase?
Probably 3 of each.
Okay. So yeah, you're able to kind of put those together. You would know. I don't know how much money you have. You would know that 3 of each would be 3, 6, 9, 10, 12, 15, 14, 15.
That's
Probably.
fair.
Roughly around 15.
It's a fair price. It's a fair price. 15 is.
Actually, yeah, they all price tags. They are fairly priced. They are not overpriced. We'll call you 50.
Well, then I'm not going to haggle her down about it. I'll go ahead and pay her the fair price of 15.
Yeah, you like set down like these supplies on the. It's like a nice large counter, so like you can set down like all the different supplies you need, the various like bits, not like shovel heads, rope, all that goodness. Basically everything that makes up a machinery cube, as well as some tech bits like batteries, wires, etc., flashlights, so on. And you kind of like pile that together, and she kind of looks at that, looks at you, and goes, "Howdy, Mister. This is this is quite a bit. You going on a journey?"
Oh, just like to be prepared for as much as possible. I'm on the road quite a lot myself, and have a little bit of spare time and some crafting experience. And I like to build little machines and traps and such.
All right. A bit of a tinkerer, as it were.
As it were, yes, you may call me that.
I'm Janice Finney.
Janice.
Right out her hand. She goes, "Pleasure to meet you."
Very nice.
That'll be 15 spurs.
Sure. Yes, and I'll hand over the spurs, and as I do, I'll say, it must be interesting living in a town at the base of a cliff. It must get dark pretty early around here, does it?
It does, yes. Between the forest and the cliff, we do get our fair share of shade, for sure. But it's also nice and quiet. It cuts down the wind quite a bit.
It must be nice. That must be nice. It seems like a quaint, clean little town. I am a person who enjoys a good bit of sunlight. Around what time does that start getting dark around here?
Oh, well, this time of year, probably around 5 or 6. That's when you'll start losing most of your sunlight. I mean, I guess depending on what part of town you're in,
sure.
Maybe as early as like 4.
Oh,
but by 5 or 6, it's basically nighttime.
Well, I'm staying in the saloon in about the middle of town, so it's good to know. I might take a bit of a nap around that time.
Oh, all right.
Jenny, thank you very much. I appreciate this. And thank you for a very fine story you have here. Everything's so well organized.
Thank you very much. Come back this weekend. I'm running a special on everything in that section over there, and it's like survival kit and stuff like that.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. Kinsey, sorry, Ken Charlotte, by the
way. Mr. Charlotte. Pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Pleasure to meet you as well. Thank you very much, Miss Finney.
Yeah. You're able to collect your supplies and head on out.
Perfect. I'll go back to the saloon as well to meet up with my compatriots.
Cool. You all get back to the saloon roughly around the same time. I'd say probably Pax gets back just a little bit before Kinsey, and Kinsey might actually get back a little bit before Roland. Because Roland was having a nice leisurely he basically scoured the entire town and then walked that town, a decent portion of that town, casually with the sheriff. Pax, you get back. You said you were gonna go into the room where Cho is sleeping?
Yeah.
Okay. You're trying not to wake her, right? Mm-hmm. And also you're trying to steal from her?
Yes.
All right. Let's go ahead and roll let's roll a sneak test.
Okay.
And then we'll roll a skullduggery test at a -2.
Okay. I have a bunch of talents that I did not write down what they do.
I can tell you what they do if you tell me the names.
So I have Lightfoot and Silent Step.
Okay. Lightfoot lets you move at normal speed while sneaking, so you don't have to like creep. And Silent Step actually makes it so people are at penalties to hear you, which is specifically what's going on because her eyes are closed because she's sleeping.
Nice.
Weird.
And then I also have Sticky Fingers.
Sticky Fingers will give penalties to be noticed pilfering or pickpocketing.
Okay. Does
Overall,
that apply?
both of those apply pretty thoroughly in this case.
Okay. So the bonus Silent Step is a minus to them.
Yeah, they get negatives.
Got it. Okay. Oh, that's not great. I'm gonna spend a grit to make my own luck.
Okay.
Okay. Nards. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So
you are up against 0 so this is the sneak, right?
yeah.
Yeah. She didn't get any. So did you get any?
Oh, yeah. I got 4. 4 hits. Then
Yeah.
10 high.
You're super. You will never wake Joe Saxton while sneaking around.
Did you kill her?
Yeah. She is a sound sleeper, and you have this room is like your domain now. You are super sneaky in this room. Yeah. Go ahead. I guess take away the negative penalty to your skullduggery test, because you're quite comfortable. You're sneaking around so well, like you're pretty sure like she's sound asleep, and you know where to step and how to move, and you can even like kind of rummage through her things, and you are able to do it far enough away from her because you can kind of like take the pack and move it away, and so on. So we'll put you at a -2, or we'll take away your -2.
Okay. And then what is Sticky Fingers? Is that a +1?
Nope, it is negatives to the person who is trying to perceive you.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, when you use skullduggery to pilfer or pickpocket, the people you are targeting are at negatives. And she's already at negatives because she's sleeping.
I'm so good.
You are up against a 4.
Okay. I have 5 net hits, 13.
Fuck off.
I rolled 3 10s and 2 13s.
Cool. So Joe Saxton's possessions. You find all of the secret spots where she has spurs hidden. She has amongst her pack and her person, 36 spurs, which you can take any of the like. It's up to you what you do with that information, but you know where she keeps all of her spurs, and you know that there's 36 spurs worth of stuff. She also has many machinery cubes, a couple tech cubes, and a couple first aid cubes. She has a few tonics as well, yeah, she has her firearm that she takes from the car, or that she took from the car at least. There's
Does she have her keys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
The keys to her car are on her. You are able to get her LRC no matter what, for sure. It is like in her pocket, like her breast pocket, but you're able to take it without waking her up. Yeah, you can take everything that she owns in this room without her noticing. So the only her armor also has an auto dock in it. You're able to identify that.
Oh.
She's sleeping in her armor, but it is both fitted and has basically like wires and stuff that like can inject her with like healing stims and stuff like that.
Okay. So I will.
Yeah, I mean, so you basically have the run of like whatever you want to do.
Okay.
You got 5 successes on this skullduggery. So if there's anything you want to do with any of her possessions, you just let me know.
Okay, well, I'm going to take 4 of her spurs. It's enough that she might think that she miscounted, but it's still doubling what I have personally. And I'm going to take the bullets out of her gun. Take the bullets out of her gun. Yeah. And then I'm going to take the LRC tag, and I'm going to slide it out the door, like under the door.
Okay.
So if they don't see it when they're coming back, it just looks like she dropped it because she was so tired.
Sure.
But if they do see it, then they can use it.
You also find 3. I forgot. You found 3 books, small little pamphlet books, like in her pack. It's the Verity of Righteousness, the Verity of Instinct, and the Verity of Logic.
Oh, so she's into triptycism then.
Yeah. You also find like a little like triptych emblem, like a triangle made out of probably brass. A triangle with a kind of like T cross section in the center, and it's like on like a chain, kind of shoved in a one of the pockets.
Okay.
But the books look well used.
Okay. I think that's all that I do, and then I'll just take a nap.
Okay. Kinsey.
Yes.
You get back, and yeah, you see the LRC tag.
So ready to roll and fail. Excellent.
No. You rolled observe earlier. You got 2 successes. It would be better if you rolled 3 successes on your observe earlier, but it's fine. You like might know to look for it too because you knew that she was going to go take it. So like glancing at that door is not out of hand for you returning. So yeah, you see the LRC tag at the just outside the door to Cho and Pax's room.
I'll go ahead and pocket that and maybe just take a lie down in Roland and I's room. Roland and me's room. Me and Roland's room. Roland and me. Roland and me's room.
My. Right?
Roland in my room. That's absolutely correct.
Got you there.
Well, Kinsey doesn't have good grammar either, so.
Yeah, so Roland returns a little bit after you do. Probably before you fall asleep unless you're particularly tired.
I took a nap as well.
Yeah, so Roland, you return. Everything seems in order. You pop open the door, and there's Kinsey kind of laying comfortably on one of the beds. It's a comfy bed. It's a nice bed. As far as tavern beds go.
Sure.
How was your trip?
Oh, just fine. Sold some of my meats and wares and gained some machinery cubes. I plan on perhaps making a stink bomb and, maybe a couple of other knickknacks and the sort.
I will be sure to keep my filtration mask handy.
What about you? How's your... what did you get up to?
I walked around the whole town, sort of saw what there was to see. Seems like there's really nothing going on untoward, which in itself is untoward. I had a nice chat with the sheriff. Got his take on Akayo Gati. And then he had to go to a botanist to see about arranging a meeting. Which, could be anything.
It didn't seem suspicious.
And that's why it's suspicious. I get the sense that Miss Scotty has built up a small little empire here wherein she does good and nice things for these people in exchange for a well-run and efficient town.
It doesn't sound so nefarious.
Well, it's not really nefarious on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But it is, you know. So here's what I imagine, right? Miss Garty, paid to have an apartment building repaired, as well as a thoroughfare and a couple of businesses. And sometime in the future, Miss Garty's associates and representatives will come to those people and ask them to do a favor in return. And they'll say yes, because now they don't have a choice.
Sure.
But also they sort of want to. But it will be nefarious, the thing that they're asked to do. That's how these things go.
I suppose it's better than straight out extorting them for money. At least he's making improvements. Not to say that I approve of any branch of the family. Any type of family.
Sure. I think what I've come to realize is I don't really care what her deal is morally. I'm more just very curious as to how things work in this town, which appears to be as advertised.
Well, I will say I found out there, as you've noticed, at the bottom of a goddamn cliff, it will get dark probably around 5 or 6, especially out at the Gatti family estate. So if Cho and the rest of the Dead Man's gang are planning on doing anything sort of skullduggery-ish, it would probably be best to take place around that time, which does give us a little more time, perhaps, to meet up with Miss Gatti.
Sure.
Perhaps we can make that suggestion to them.
I'm beginning to get the sense that perhaps the Dead Man's gang, while possessing a wealth of skills, brains is not one of them. Because as I said about this town earlier, so I think this is a neighborhood where if somebody saw something, they would say something. And then the cops would investigate it.
So it wouldn't be too much of a push to bring the law down on them, is what you're saying?
No. In fact, I think we should still go forward with Pax's plan. It's very good.
Excellent.
I think maybe we might not have to do anything to get the Dead Man's gang in trouble with the Garty family to such an extent that they are forced into an unfavorable position.
Well, down us, I thought this was going to take at least a few more weeks.
Yeah. So, is Pax back?
Oh, she must be. I got the LRC tag. I said, twirling it around my finger.
Oh, well, let's go take a look.
Sure, I'll toss it to him. Doesn't do me any good.
I grab it. Wait, Kinsey, can you not read?
I can make out the odd word or two, but reading is not one of my strong suits now.
Huh. I would not have guessed.
Hmm.
You carry yourself as a man who can read.
Not quite sure how to take that. It seems...
It's intended as a compliment, I say, before we can interrogate that sequence more and leave.
Saying it seems a little bit backhanded, but all right.
All right, so you head out to the LRC tower. It's like proper morning, closing in on noon. At this point, you guys have been all over this town, yeah, you get up to the LRC tower. You pull down one of the terminals. It's a decent LRC tower. It's got a few terminals. It also has a window for an operator. Which is actually open, and there's a woman there, kind of younger, maybe like early 20s, who is messing on a terminal on the other side. She's kind of standing like in a little like offshoot of the tower, and she sees you approaching, and she like waves to you and goes, "Howdy, sirs."
Hey there. Just hoping to use the LRC tower. Is it everything all right here? Are you
Oh
is
yeah,
that a
yeah.
repairs? Or is this just what's going on?
No, you're fine. If you need any assistance, let me know. We have the three private terminals over there. You're welcome to use it. Or if you need assistance reading your correspondence, I am here at your service. And should you need to post any public notices or anything along those lines, I can arrange such a thing. Daisy Hightower at your service.
James Damasciano. Pleasure to meet you.
Ken Charlotte.
Well, go ahead, gentlemen. If you don't need any assistance, those terminals are at your disposal, and just let me know if you have any issues.
No, we are quite literate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll head off to the private terminal.
Cool. You kind of pull it down and like fold out the keyboard. The screen lights up. You're able to slot in Cho's LRC tag and look at her personal correspondence. Yeah. So you're able to find easily the message she sent to what you assume is Rufus. It's not like it doesn't say like from Cho Saxton to Rufus Nash regarding Dead Man's Gang's plans.
I am curious. What is the name that she's using, and who's she sending it to?
She is using the name. Her LRC tag is Spring May, and well, LRC tags aren't necessarily always just people's names, right?
Sure. I'm just saying, it seems fake.
And she is sending it to an LRC tag that says that is called Seamus Dole.
See that's a name that says nothing's going on here.
It's named Dull. You don't think it's a bit on the nose?
It's so on the nose, Kinsey. And that's the brilliance behind it.
She sends a message say, the correspondence doesn't hide that she's sending it to Rufus or anything. It's just like the LRC tags themselves don't just scream it out.
Of course it doesn't. They're just the most wanted gang in the garden. Why would they try and hide what they send through publicly available terminals?
Yeah, but it is private correspondence, so the only people who could do what you're doing are people with the LRC tag or an LRC operator. Those are the only people who can do that. The message basically, is like a quick update, saying like Miguel, like the law is on our tail. Miguel ran afoul with a marshal. There's a little bit of suspicion thrown on the three of you in that, being like, I don't know what if it was Miguel who tipped his hand or if it was the three newcomers. Not to question you or anything, boss, but like, I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable being alone with just the three of them. An update on Salvador's dead. He's on the outs with the Gati, or the Gati did it. She knows that the Akeo is hoarding the weapons, and basically like being like, if you could send me some help, I need some I need some backup here. Like they seem these three seem like they might be on the up and up, but I didn't see what happened on that boat, and honestly, Miguel seemed like he was riding high after the fight before Roland took a look at his wounds. It took a very quick and sudden turn, unexpected as it were. Not trying to cast not trying to infer anything. I'm not a doctor or anything, but we did bury, we did leave Miguel.
Can't even remember his name.
We did leave Miguel at like these coordinates. So if you want to have the madman take a look, he might be able to figure something out. He might be able to confirm that it was what Roland says it was.
Great. Okay. Is there anything else of note? If I do just like a brief skim through.
Yeah, I mean, you got time, right? So I'm not going to make you roll for it. Especially because, you're very good at social stuff. You kind of get a little bit of a sense of her relationship with certain other members of the Dead Man's Gang. Similar to how you got, like, a sense when you looked at Miguel's private correspondence. Oh, no. Did this computer just die? No. I had a little side computer with...
The whole LLC network's down. Oh, shit, was she even a technician at all?
It explodes. No, okay. I'll use this over here. Just might give me just a little bit of lag. So, Cho is pretty reserved. She doesn't seem to get particularly close to anyone. A lot of her messages with other members of the gang are pretty are like pretty business oriented, but still friendly. Just like nothing like super. They're not like There's not a lot of like very very familiar like chatter, right? She out of anyone, she seemed probably the closest to Miguel. Because they worked a lot together. You also this is a relatively new LRC tag, so it can't go super far back. But you get at least a few messages leading up to the breakout of Rufus, and she does have seems to have she reaches out to maybe 5 or 6 different 5 different people that you think are just friends and maybe even family, that she just is like, hey, this is my new LRC, let me know. She has an aunt, apparently. You're not sure where she's located, but she says hey, Auntie May, this is my this is my new LRC. I thought you'd get a kick out of the name. And a few other things. It seems like she has good relationship with the various people outside the gang that she chats with. Nothing, but altogether, you as a socially adept person can tell she pretty much keeps her guard up at all times. She's kind of a quiet sort who doesn't really open up a whole lot with people, and her friendships seem relatively light
sort
touch.
Of arm's length.
Yeah. Not where people think she's standoffish, but that's just how Cho is. But yeah, seems to have some friends scattered around Manifest, and she seems on relative medium, okay, good terms with everyone. There's not really anyone in the gang that she is super on the outs with, except for she seems to not super out of everyone, Samuel Hofstetter is the one that she seems to have the least in common with, and they probably don't work a lot together. That's part of it, but in general, their messages are pretty short and non-friendly, just very business, just hey, Rufus wanted me to tell you this, hey, Rosa's meeting you here, just an update, right?
Sure. It's probably they tried being more friendly and using metaphors and things, but they're from different worlds. The Wrangler metaphors just don't make sense to the car person. Sure, okay. I'll make sure Kinsey is up to speed. I think so. I was working on sort of trying to plant the seed of doubt regarding the madman with Miguel about his gun failure. I think it might be worthwhile sort of heading down that avenue with Cho.
shoot a little PS, is what you're saying?
Oh, no. I think we'd, directly to Cho.
Sure.
Talking to her.
I see.
She thinks the madman and Sierra are coming as backup.
Right.
And if we can convince her that the madman had it out for Miguel, it's, basic stuff. Just try and isolate them from each other so they don't feel comfortable counting on each other. It makes them easier to manipulate and then kill.
Just can't let go of that Mad King's gambit, can you?
No, I can't.
It's a good backup plan, I think it really could work if this whole Gatti thing falls through.
Yeah, no, Pax's thing is just way better.
It's so simple, and so much easier to execute.
It's really good. All right, let's head back.
All right. So you guys actually taking a nap now, or what? There's probably a few hours before Cho wakes up.
I guess probably. I'll ask Kinsey where he found this LRC tag so we can put it back.
Pax just left it. Well, I assume she left it and wasn't dropped. Just right outside the door here.
Great. I'll just set it there, casually.
It looks like it may have been dropped. And yeah, a few hours later, Pax, you wake up to kind of a stirring in the room when you kind of open up your eyes, and Cho is stretching and changing some of her clothes. Underneath her armor, she takes off her armor and changes into a little bit more thicker shirt and pants, and she kind of dusts off her boots, and she goes, "All right, I suppose three of us ought to get together and find out what I'd like to hear what y'all found out while I was getting some shut-eye."
Yeah, sure. That sounds good. I think probably the guys are just over in the room. Did you want me to get them, or do you want to go over there?
Yeah, bring them on in here.
All right. And I'll go and knock on their door. I'll go knock on their door.
We were waiting for you.
Yeah.
Sort of a reverse Three's Company. Four's Company.
Yeah, there's a knock on your door. It's Pax.
Hey.
Hey. You want to come on over? Cho's awake.
No.
Sure.
Take my cup of cold coffee with me.
Cool.
It's just sugar.
It's still delicious. It might even be better, actually.
I
don't think it is. So yeah, and the three of you walk in, and Cho is kind of checking your things, putting them together. She doesn't seem to notice that 4 spurs are missing, and she kind of looks around a little bit and is patting on her things, and she's like, "Hell's my LRC tag?" And looking at the the nightstand, and checking her jacket and looking on the floor.
If Kinsey steps on it, will it break?
Possibly, yeah.
No, I don't really see the benefit of that. I'll let her find it herself.
Okay, so she just kind of was like, huh, and sees the three of you and goes, "All right, come on in. Shut the door behind you."
Yeah, okay.
So she looks at her timepiece and goes, "What the three of you find out? Assume when you watch around town a little bit."
Listen, Cho, before we get into that, there's something you should know that I talked about with Miguel. Sorry, it just sort of hit me that I hadn't filled you in on this. Miguel's gun failed on the trip down to meet Salvador. And me and him on the boat, we took a look at it and repaired it. It had failed. Well, I'll just come right out and say it. The last person to work on that gun was the madman, according to Miguel.
Well, that don't seem like Maddie to make a mistake.
That's sort of my thought as well.
She asked you a little bit about like the technicalities of like the fracture, basically the stress fracture that like caused the problem. And she goes, she focuses on like the machinery aspect of it to try and like find out what it is. But you having like operated on Miguel's gun, you're able to kind of like work your way around that handily and act as though you know what you're talking about. Because I think I remember you got like 4 hits or something on that.
I also sort of know what I am talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So like, there's no role involved. She just kind of was like, well, that's odd, to say the least. I mean, Maddie's a strange one, but over the years, as more and more screws get loose, his work's never faltered.
Yeah, that's sort of what Miguel said also, which, I know I'm new here. I don't know you all as well as you know each other, but if you've got a brilliant tinkerer whose work is good and doesn't make mistakes, and the gun still fails, it sort of seems intentional, doesn't it?
You can go ahead and roll manipulate.
Oh, that's a very good roll. That's an extremely good roll.
You are up against a 9.
Man, do I want to spend grit on this? Of course I do. I'll never have 12 grit. What's that like, Addie?
Also, if any of you are hitting your advancement triggers, getting 2 advancement triggers in a session does give you more grit.
So I'm gonna. It's an unorthodox maneuver, but I'm gonna play to the gallery down.
Ah.
So I can count both of these 12s.
Okay.
As explosions.
Sure. Yeah. You don't gain an additional success from doing it, but you do gain more dice.
Okay, so it was a 9, or was it a 10?
It was a 9.
Great. I've got 4 net hits: a 9, a 10, a 12, and a 12.
Sure. She kind of sits there for a little bit shook by what you said, and she goes, "That." Like, she kind of like goes down an avenue, like talking with you, kind of get around like a tangent where she's like trying to be like, well, yeah, but like Miguel could have just, during the trip, he could, all it takes is, maybe dropping it or something like that. And you're like, no, it really seemed like it was sabotage because of these reasons, right?
Have you ever known Miguel to be careless with his gun?
Yeah. And you're able to like push her along that for a little bit. And she goes, that's too much for me to think about. Right.
I don't mean to cast doubt or, throw accusations around. It's just, you said it's probably going to be the Madman and Sierra as our backup, and I thought it prudent to, keep you informed.
I bet if even if something like this happened, if it may have been because Miguel and Maddie were on the outs, and Maddie wanted to get back at him. He's a bit vindictive. Maybe we didn't intend nothing, and it sounds like maybe it worked out overall decent in the end. So
sure, because Kinsey was there.
And she like glances to Kinsey and she goes, "Appreciate that."
Yes, well, whatever I can do.
Anywho, let's change the subject before I get too riled up.
Sure. So, obviously the manor is the Gatti estate. The rest of the town seems fairly quiet, well run. Folks seem happy. I happened to have a conversation with the sheriff as I was, walking around town. I got the sense that maybe it's hard to imagine he's unaware of Akeo Gati's affiliation. But they seem to, she seems to contribute to the town considerably. Just to say, it's gonna be tough to take something out from under her nose, but not impossible.
All right, so we just gotta make sure we don't raise suspicion before we move in. I ain't one for the subtle approach or for the plotting of things. I leave that to Sierra and Rufus and Rosa. For the most part, I just go where they tell me and drive where they need me. Honestly, we're a little out the wheelhouse. I can get us out of this town. We get our hands on them weapons. I can get us out of this town.
Well, I will say we do have a bit of automatic cover starting in the late afternoon / early evening with this giant cliff face. It will give us some cover if we move in perhaps from the forest, starting from the base of the cliff out. It gives us a good entryway. Do we know where the target is? I believe Pax was on that reconnaissance.
The estate is surrounded by a wall, stone on a few sides, and when it opens up to the forest, it's iron posts. Mm-hmm. There's a secondary gate that leads into the woods, probably for traffic and sort of like the carriage house. There are indentured servants on the grounds. They have an exterior building that looks like their residence. And other than that, it's a lot of open ground between the wall and the estate. Like a lot. Even in a car, getting in without taking heavy fire from the patrols that are in there from what looks like actual family members is impossible.
How many guards did you see?
10, 12 patrolling at, in the early morning.
It was more like half a dozen, but...
Yeah. 6, 7 in the early morning.
But to you, Roland, because of your previous role, as far as like knowing underworldly things, that seems like too much. Even for the size of that estate, that seems like someone who's expecting something. That's straight up like you're like family for like operations, like what you've heard, like especially in a town this nice, like that pings your 4 successes from before, where you're like, that's too many guards. She is expecting trouble.
Sure. Well, seems light for the family.
She goes, you got much experience with things like this, Roland?
Well, you don't commit crimes in Alonestead without, paying dues.
They don't know you, do you, they?
Of course not.
All right. Well, if you've dealt with these people before and you think that's a light guard, something we might be able to handle?
Well, I wouldn't, like Pax said, loud up front, it doesn't seem viable. But a quick getaway might work.
All right. She kind of sits there for a second thinking, and she goes, Is there anything else? We got 2 days to plot and plan and kind of make approaches. Is there anything we can do to set Sierra and actually, you know what? I should double check see if I got a message back from Rufus.
I was gonna say, the one thing you could do that would set all of us up for success is to, try and show your face outside as little as possible. Your bounty, there's a picture of you up on the bounty board.
All right. Well, I can check maybe later tonight when the operator's not in.
Yes, lovely woman, Miss Hightower. Not
Well,
that that information's pertinent, it's just something that I know.
I'll be sure to stay clear of her. Congratulations on making her acquaintance.
Thank you.
Here's my LRC, and then she sees it in the door. She goes, "Dang nabbit," and stands up, picks it up, checks to make sure it's not damaged, and then she pockets it again. And she goes, "All right, fine. So I'll stay indoors. Try not to. Just bring me something to eat or something. I can hold up in this room till the time comes."
Sure. We'll make sure you're taken care of. Don't worry.
And she sits down and she goes, "Problem is, it's a lot of ground to cover. Not just to get in, but that's from the looks of it, a big estate. Hard to say where where that stuff's gonna be."
Well, you leave that to us.
How many net successes did you get on your manipulation when you were trying to sow doubt?
4.
Okay. She goes, "Might not have to." She kind of sits back and goes, "Just give me a second." She looks out towards the window, kind of towards where the estate roughly is, and kind of lowers her head, and you see up the back of her neck these veins of glowing light kind of creep up under her hair, and she presses her hand against the window, and you see her veins in her hands kind of glowing this kind of white light, and you see her in her reflection. She opens her eyes, and they her irises and pupils have been replaced by just glowing white light for just a second, and then she stops, lets out a breath, like she was holding her breath. They're underground. The weapons.
Oh.
Just want to roll something real quick. Yep. Yeah. So she's like, yeah, they're underground. Not super far, but away from the house. Maybe not a basement.
Okay. So a cellar, an exterior cellar, a bunker.
Maybe they got some way to get them under the grounds, as it were. It's not underneath either of them buildings. It was dark, and I couldn't see them, but I know where they are. I may have a few abilities,
Mm-hmm.
but we're all friends here, and I don't take kindly to anyone calling me anything. My name ain't Lucy, it's Cho. Y'all understand?
Sure.
Understood. Whatever you say, Joe.
Now, I have these abilities, and they can be useful. They've always been useful. I ain't dangerous, and I ain't looking to have you spreading this around to anybody. Now, the people in the gang, they know, but I play this close to the chest.
Is it true that you can make a person's mind explode just like in the middle of their brain? Is it?
I'll
I've heard
just
that
like
about your type.
Kinsey.
I just want to know.
Kinsey. That's ridiculous. Don't sell yourself short, Joe. You're extremely dangerous.
She kind of grins at that. She was like fuming at Kinsey, and then you say that, and she kind of grins at that, and then like she's still fixated on Kinsey, but like going from anger, she like it looks like she's like kind of gained a little bit of control and confidence from what Roland said. And she goes, "Yeah, I am. Don't you forget it, Mr. McCharlotte."
All right, understood. Got it. Just out of curiosity, though, as you are in this dark cellar, were there maybe perhaps any tunnels leading to it? Did it seem self-contained?
I couldn't see. Sometimes I can see, but I just kind of it's more like a sense of where a thing is, you know, just a knowing, and I know it's underground, and it ain't necessarily where I would think the basement of that mansion or that servants' quarters would reach. So tunnels don't seem unlikely. Roland, with your 4 successes on family-based knowledge, it is not unheard of for the family to use underground tunnels to smuggle and store illicit material. It would actually make a lot of sense given like
to a large cliff and several forests.
yeah, that like this is like this town's already kind of nestled in and like kind of like hard to spot. You could and with possibly with her putting money into the town and like helping refurbish things.
What were those apartment buildings in that thoroughfare that were repaired recently?
You know where they are.
Yeah, you know, it's not unlike the family to build their way up from under, if you know what I mean.
All right, so maybe there's some tunnels leading to. We could use that. Can't get the car down there probably, but it'd be great if I could.
We'll see what we can do.
All right. Well, y'all have roughly a day and a half probably before reinforcements arrive. I'll wait here. Y'all can do some more snooping around. If you think you might know where some of these tunnels might lead, given your history with these folk, maybe look into that. But it might also be good for just to lay low for a day and a half. Seems like we have close to a solid plan, but we just gotta find a point of entry. And I'll remember where they are, so.
Don't worry. We won't do anything crazy.
Alright. Well, I guess I'm stuck in this room, so I'm hungry. Someone go get me something to eat.
Oh, sure. Right away. Yes, absolutely. And Kinsey will get out of the room as quickly as possible.
Yeah, sorry.
He's left, so she says, "Is he gonna be a problem?"
No. He is the furthest thing from a problem.
All right, because I don't share that often, but stakes is high. We're on a timetable here, and can't have us going in the wrong direction.
Listen, he is very capable, and has seen a lot of the world, and I'm sure killed a great many things. psychic powers, understandably, scare the shit out of him.
Ain't nothing to be scared of. It's just part of who I am.
Listen, we're not scared of you. It's not a judgment on you. It's just... it's things we can't do. And people fear what they can't do.
Yeah. Don't I know it? All right. Well, guess he's getting me food. I
We'll
don't
get to
have much
work.
in the way of entertainment, so I'll sit back here and take it easy and wait for your next report.
See if I can find you a book.
I got a few. Don't worry.
Yeah, I had a...
I'm not staying, so.
Right. Once we're out of earshot of Cho, I'll just over to Pax. That's way too many guards for the family. In a town as quiet as this, they're expecting trouble.
Oh, good.
And I think with that, we'll actually end the session. It's a little bit earlier than I would probably normally do it, but it's, you know, anything else we're going to get into probably is going to take a little while. So this feels like a pretty good stopping point. So thank you to anyone who chose to watch this instead of binging content on various streaming services that may have been
Man,
released
we've been getting
today.
killed on Tuesdays for like the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, it was like the World Series.
Presidential debate, World Series Game 1, World Series Game 7.
Rough.
I don't have any. I don't think I'm gonna double check. I don't think I have any questions that were submitted via the Kickstarter exclusive Discord. Though there were some people who were chatting about the monsters that were the monster art that was shared on the Kickstarter page. Obviously, it's very cool, and people recognize that and they like talking about it. But yeah, if anyone in the chat watching has any questions, we're entering the Q&A section of this stream. You can post in the chat. Addie is watching it, and it can be a question about the session you just watched, about Manifest in general, about these characters, about these players, about me. Go for it. You know, anything you got. Otherwise, while maybe they're submitting some questions, let's go through advancement triggers because no one said anything about their advancement triggers.
Yeah, no, I think I hit all of mine in that last scene.
All right, what do we got?
I got Cho to stay in the room using only my words.
Isn't that you obtain something?
Yeah.
Well,
Her out
you know
of the
what?
way.
No matter what you did, is you obtain her trust and
Sure.
and the information that she has illuminated because she decided that she could trust you.
Sure. I tricked someone into a disadvantageous position when I told her to stay in the room.
Yes.
She
She is now has to take you at your word about everything that's going on out there.
I would argue that I have talked her out of conflict with me over the last day, which has been tense.
Yeah, I would say so.
And you push your luck despite a clear chance to fail by insinuating that the madman sabotaged Miguel's gun.
I would take that. That's 4 there.
That's all of me.
I got 3 out of 4. I actually don't think anyone was actually threatened with violence. So, I missed
At
that
the
one.
end, when Cho threatened Kinsey.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, and then an open fight was avoided through underhanded means, I guess.
What was the open fight that was avoided?
Yeah, I was thinking that it was the Kinsey being a dummy, but I actually think that that wasn't underhanded. That was probably the only honest thing that Roland said. the whole time. But maybe the sheriff and the gambit with walking with the sheriff and putting him at ease is the only thing I could think of. Like maybe, but I don't think that.
Yeah, I don't think an open fight.
Yeah.
I don't think an open fight was avoided through underhanded means.
Yeah.
Also, before I forget, Roland, take a grit because you got 2 of your 4.
Oh, don't worry. I took my 1 grit. That is now the only grit I have.
Hey.
I'll have 5 one day.
I took something I wanted but didn't deserve, which was the LRC tag.
Yep.
And 4 spurs.
And it was really the 4 spurs.
And I get away with breaking the law because of mail fraud and also
accessory to mail fraud.
Accessory to mail fraud, and also I did a robbery, a burglary.
Yeah, I think getting access to someone's LRC, definitely something that would be enforced by the law. So
I got 3 out of 4 plus a grit.
Oh.
And what about you, Kinsey?
I really think I only got 1. Unless somebody can fill these in for me. I don't think anyone was shown how to survive in the wild.
Nah.
I don't think a trap.
Oh wait, you were
what,
right?
Me? Why?
Yeah, because he uses the stuff for the traps.
Yeah, but that didn't show me.
Oh, okay. All
He
right.
told him how to survive in the wild. And they're always saying, show, don't tell.
It's also not something that Kinsey wouldn't know.
Oh, sure.
Bait.
No, I'm a trapper. I don't know how to bait anything. A trap is utilized successfully. We did a lot of skullduggery things, but I don't think we trapped anyone.
We literally trapped Joe in a room.
I don't think that's a trap. I think that's putting her in a disadvantageous position. She is not trapped there. She could leave. There just might
But
be
she won't, which is the ultimate trap.
Well, it depends on what happens next, I suppose.
I'm going to sabotage the door in the next episode, so I make sure.
She just can't get out.
But animal parts that were gathered in nature for free were sold. Specifically, I wanted to finally hit that one, and I hit it this time. God damn it!
I'm trying to sell that finally had a chance to. Every town you've been in, you've been in and out super fast.
Run, fuck you guys. And then I don't think patience was rewarded unless you count him walking around with the sheriff. Was it rewarded by any information?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. That's chill. And I'll take my grip.
I wouldn't have known about the recently repaired and new tunnel entrances.
All right. I'll take
that. You don't know.
Okay, I don't know.
All right. So we have one question in the chat so far, and it's from Lot Nachos, and it's what's on the end of a snollygoster? The other end of a snollygoster, it's probably nothing.
So the artwork that Crystal made, the snollygoster is a large, kind of limbless reptile with alligator-type features on the face, a sharp razor along the back. It is also telekinetic, which is terrifying. And it's this large water creature that's terrifying, but it's kind of splashing out of the water. Now, I imagine that Lot Nachos is a playtester who is trying to make a joke about a description I did of the snollygoster during the playtest. Which is, so the snollygoster, as all animals, all of most, if not all of the beasts on Manifest, they're based around North, Central, and South American folklore. And the snollygoster is no exception. And the thing is, a lot of those creatures are really silly, in the weird things that they have. And the weird thing about the snollygoster in the folklore is it has a propeller. On its backside.
Yeah, but
and so the snollygoster on Manifest does not have a propeller on the backside.
Okay. But Tommy,
Yeah.
Dan's not letting me
you've
let me
gone
get away
too
from
far
it.
down this road now, Tommy.
I
You
could've
had the
said-
opportunity to just dismiss it.
I could have skirted around this too, but now Dan's not going to let me skirt around it. So I was trying to make the Snollygoster sound terrifying during the playtesting, and I was like, I wasn't sure if it was actually going to have a propeller or not, but I was just basically going off the folklore because it was the first time I had used it in a session, and I was trying to make it sound like scary. And every time when I try to make something sound scary, I give it like weird, disgusting adjectives, and so I called it a meat propeller. The playtesters are just so fixated on that phrase that
Because it's the wildest thing.
it sounds ridiculous and terrifying. Anyways, Snollygoster on Manifest actually is more like just a very large like alligator crossed with a serpent type thing, and it's able to move through the water like a friggin' snake moves through water. And also it's telekinetic.
Yeah.
Cool. Are there any other questions? Are there any real questions in the chat?
That's a real
Besides
question.
the tester trying to put me on the spot to make me say meat propeller.
There are no other questions right now.
Great. No one wants to bail me out and give me something real to talk about.
So since there are no more questions, we're gonna do the obligatory. Ooh, excuse me. Tired. We're gonna do the obligatory. Go over there and hit that subscribe button, and hit the little bell so you get a notification when we go live. It's super useful to you because you get to hang out with us, and it's super useful for us because we get to hang out with you. So do it. We are on next week, same waypoint time, same waypoint channel, and we will be going to affiliate status the first Tuesday in December. So at that point, if you like, you can subscribe to us, pay that little subscription, and give us some, revenue to, get some mics and maybe some cool music and really kid out this stream. So, yeah. So, if you want to support us that way, you can look forward to it in December. But for now, hit the bell, hit the subscribe button, or notify the follow button. I think it's follow right now. It will be subscribe. And also follow us on social medias. You can find me at Adigia, and you can find this stream at Manifest RPG on Twitter and Manifest the RPG on Facebook and Instagram, which is actually also right up there. So thanks so much, everybody, for watching. We did a lot today, but we didn't go into initiative. So hopefully we'll do that next time. With some sick music I'm going to find, maybe.
Oh,
no promises. I'm going to try.
Trying to do some production.
Yeah, I'm trying to jump grade us. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, so we'll see you next week. Thanks so much, everybody.
Bye.
We're going to play us out. Bye.